You're listening to the Relational Astrology Podcast, where we use the powerful tool of astrology to transform relationships in every area of your life: romantic, personal, professional, and beyond. This isn't your typical astrology podcast, and you don't need to be an astro expert to join in. Get ready for real-life examples, practical tips, and tools you can start using right away to strengthen your connections. Ready to improve the relationships in your life? Grab your birth chart and let's dive in.
And there I was, in the middle of my dark night of the soul. My husband had just left me. I was out of work and therefore out of touch with all my coworkers. I was so sick that I was bedridden for 9 months prior to that, so I lost most of my friends and all of my social connections. I lost my father, who was my best friend, because he chose to take the side of my soon-to-be ex-husband. And while I had some amazing maternal figures like my mother and a few of my closest best friends, I lacked relationships. I lacked connection, and I felt all alone. And as a girl whose South Node and Venus is in Libra, relationships were a huge part of my life. And there I was, feeling completely lost. This was back in 2019, and I had astrology, but that's when I really dove into astrology. And I started looking at the cosmos, my birth chart, the planets, all of that for guidance of what to do next, how to build my life moving forward. And that's when I started building my relationships with the planets, who I would soon consider to be life coaches. And through that, I grew, I expanded, I came back to who I was meant to be, my birth chart. I realigned with my purpose, and I continue to follow the guidance of the planets as they were impacting me, as they were relating to me in my journey here on Earth School. That was almost 6 years ago now. And my life today looks completely different. And I continue to navigate my journey forward in my new partnership, in my new home, in my new career, with new friends, in the new dreams and goals and visions that I'm building for my life. I continue the relationship with the life coaches, with the planets, and how they're moving me towards my North Star, my North Node, and my mission. And this is my mission now, to help others build the relationship, not only to their own birth chart and themselves, but to the planets, to the coaches that are here to guide you on your path. If you've never heard of the concept of life coach planets or your primary life coach, it's because I created that term, that phrase for me during my darkest moments, my dark night of the soul, in my chaos. And now I have that relationship no matter what is going on in my earthly experience. And I want the same for you, to have that relationship, to have these mentors, these cosmic guides in your life as you journey along. A place to look for understanding, clarity, purpose, your next step. Now, when we think of the planets as life coaches, think of it this way. We have different coaches in our life that help us with different things. You have a personal trainer that is going to guide you over things in your life, like your gym routine and your nutrition, right? Your physical body. But then you have a life coach that is a therapist, and they help you with your mental health, talk therapy, processing emotions and feelings and energy. And then you have maybe a business mentor. You might have a relationship mentor, like a counselor you go to with your partner. We have different coaches in our physical reality. The planets are going to be our energetic coaches, our cosmic coaches, and they're each going to rule over a different area of our life, and they're going to guide us and move us forward. And they're going to have different relationships to us depending on where they are in the sky, in relationship to us here on Earth. And so you're going to have different planets teaching you different lessons at different times, and they're all meant to teach us lessons. We're growing and learning and evolving throughout our journey here on Earth School. So I see it as a way that we have our North Star, our North Node in our birth chart, and the planets are just teaching us lessons and guiding us if we're listening to them, if we have that relationship to them, helping us move closer and closer to that North Node, our mission, our purpose here on Earth. And I don't consider the planets gods like the Greeks and the Romans did. I just simply see them as messengers, cosmic messengers, directing me on my path. And so in today's episode, we are going to start building your relationship to all the planets to help you see where they show up in your chart, what areas of life they're mentoring you through, and how to just start relating better to yourself by understanding the planets as guides. Now, we're going to have episodes, of course, breaking down more specifically how the planets help us in relationships. I'm going to have episodes where we navigate each planet in all 12 of the zodiac signs so you can relate better to the people in your life that may have, let's say, a Venus in Gemini, a Mars in Cancer, or whatever their placements will be. So we'll get into all of that. But let's start out with the foundational point of relational astrology, of you building that relationship with each of the life coaches. And if this is your first episode here, hi, welcome on in. I'm Mandy Rose, the Relational Astrologer, and my intention with this podcast is to ultimately help you use the tool of astrology to build better relationships in all areas of your life. So if this is your vibe and you're into it, then let's go ahead and start this episode. So we are going to start out with the sun. The sun obviously is one of the most important guides or coaches to us. Everything revolves around the sun. Our sun in our birth chart symbolizes how we shine, how we radiate, how we show up in the world. This is why so many of us relate to our sun sign. It truly is the way in which we are meant to show up in this world. You are going to radiate that zodiac energy, whatever your sun sign is, into everything you do. When you think of the sun, it is a permanent relationship. Without it, we would literally die here on Earth. And therefore, that relationship in your birth chart is super essential, super vital. Think of it this way. No matter where you are on Earth, you are being radiated upon by the sun. It is always there for you. Even when the sun is on the opposite side of the Earth and it is nighttime, it is dark, you are still feeling the rays of the sun as it's radiating upon you from the reflection of the stars and the moon. And so the sun is very important. Now, how to build that relationship with the sun? The first thing you're going to want to do is look in your birth chart, understanding what your sun sign is. Most of us already know our sun sign, but building that relationship with the sun, it says in your chart, this is how you're meant to show up. And my biggest thing with astrology and relational astrology specifically is having the relationship with yourself to be who you are meant to be, not who the world tells you to be. And often with your sun sign, you can't turn that off. If you turn it off, you literally dim your own light. You dim your radiance. We're all meant to be here and shine in a certain way. So if you're an Aries sun, you're meant to be bold and loud and a little extra. If you're a Virgo sun like me, you're meant to be more organized and analytical and detailed and practical and strategic. We're all meant to show up in a certain way. So build that relationship with your sun sign and yourself. Now, wherever your sun falls, whatever house it falls in, that is the area of life where you truly shine your brightest. And the sun in the sky symbolizes what we should be shining our own light upon. So the sun goes around all 12 zodiac signs in 1 year. Our Gregorian calendar is actually built off the sun, where in astrology, the solar calendar has the sun in 1 degree per day. So after 360 days, the sun would go around the entire sky, the entire wheel, and come back to the place it was when it began. Now, our Gregorian calendar is 365 days because, of course, the sun is not perfect, just like everything in nature. And so it wobbles and wiggles a little bit. We have 365 days. However, the sun has 12 sun seasons, just like we have 12 calendars. The sun, as it journeys through each of the 12 zodiac signs, from Aries all the way to Pisces, is 1 astrological year. We celebrate the astrological new year in March on the spring equinox, when there is equal amount of day and light. The sun hits 0 degrees of Aries, and wherever that is in our birth chart is where we begin it all. And as the sun goes through all 12 zodiac signs, it journeys through all 12 areas of your chart. And so you are meant to focus your light, your energy into certain areas of your life as the sun visits all 12 areas of your life throughout the year. We'll talk a lot more about that in the sun episode specifically, but just know building that relationship with the sun is your life coach, is guiding you in your chart where to look at certain areas of your life at certain times of your life. And it's cyclical. It's every single year. So for example, I am a Scorpio rising. And so every single year during Taurus sun season, when the sun is in Taurus, the sun is shining, spotlighting, highlighting my 7th house area of life, which is friendships, relationships, connections, partnerships. That is my area of life where I need to focus in on those areas of life. The light of the sun is highlighting it so I can see it clearer than any other season of the astrological year. So I plan my years in accordance with the sun seasons. The sun is my life coach telling me, hey, this is the time to shine a light and pay extra energy, attention, vitality on your career, your finances, your friends, your siblings, your creative projects. And so that is how the sun guides us. Now the moon sign, we have an entire episode on the moon and our relationship to the moon and our moon placements and in relationships with each other. It is the most important compatibility is to be there for someone's moon sign. But our relationship to the moon is so pivotal, it's so vital because the moon brings us energy to help us be intuitive, to be in flow, to understand our inner world, to understand our emotions. When there's a new moon, a full moon, perfect time to get into these rhythms, these cycles of nature. The moon as a coach to us is helping us feel, sense, intuit life, to experience the magic. The moon is mystical and magical. The moon helps us relate to one another better and ultimately allows us to be in the rhythm of nature. When there's a new moon, we set new intentions. When it's a full moon, we release and we let go. We surrender and move past and start a new chapter and start a new cycle. When there's eclipses, we have opportunities for fated, destined things to course correct us and move us back on our tracks. The moon is such a guide, and following the moon is so important. Wherever the moon is in the sky, whatever zodiac energy the moon is in, dictates what we emotionally may be feeling and how we should be relating to things, experiences, people, situations in our life from that emotional level. So for example, when the moon is in Cancer, you're going to feel more sensitive, more crabby, more moody. You're going to be more emotional about family, your home, the past. But when the moon, for example, is in Sagittarius, you're going to feel more optimistic and joyful and adventurous. Your emotions are going to be tied to your independence, space, and freedom. And when we get into this relationship with the moon, we can kind of go through the 28-day lunar cycle, planning our life by understanding, okay, the moon is like telling us, hey, this is how we should be feeling, or this is how we may be feeling. So maybe these are days that you want to spend doing this or not doing that. The relationship with the moon is so beautiful. And for women, even more magical because we have a 28-day menstrual cycle that is in alignment with the 28-day lunar cycle. And so for a lot of my females, specifically my Cancer rising clients, we have a lot of conversations about paying attention to the moon cycle, checking in with your mood, your emotions, your energy levels for all 12 different zodiac moon placements throughout the 28-day lunar cycle, and figuring out your own inner rhythm. And some women, we align with our menstrual cycle around the new moon or the full moon. And they all mean different things, but we have a very serious relationship with the moon, especially as women, as intuitive beings. And then we move into Mercury. So once we get into Mercury, we get into what we call our personal planets, our personal life coaches, Mercury, Mars, and Venus. And Mercury as a life coach is going to rule over our mind. Anytime you think of Mercury, you think of the mind. He is the messenger, the cosmic messenger, the cosmic megaphone. In mythology, he was represented by the messenger with the wings on his feet. You remember he'd have like the little wings on his feet and he'd fly around and spread information. And so Mercury as a life coach to us as a planet is teaching us how to think, learn, process information, speak, express, share our story, connect with other people, communicate. And so as a life coach in our birth chart, wherever he lands in our birth chart, it's going to represent our own thought patterns. I call it our processing software system. We have 12 different Mercury placements. So there's 12 different ways someone's mind can operate, process information, 12 different communication styles, 12 different ways of hearing information and then speaking and expressing that information back out. When I speak here with you on this podcast or on a YouTube video or on a retreat or when I'm presenting somewhere, I know that in that room, there's 12 different ways people are processing the information I'm sharing based on their Mercury placement. So for you particular, having that relationship with the Mercury in your chart, in your own inner being, is building that relationship with your mind, what you like to learn, how you learn best. How do you hear the information and process it and download it into your energetic body? And then when it comes time to speak, express, communicate, what is your tone, your language? How are you meant to speak? How are you meant to communicate? How are you meant to educate other people and become a teacher to others? Is all based on Mercury in your birth chart. And as Mercury journeys around the sky every single year, he's going to go through all 12 zodiac signs in a year, so close to us here on Earth. And as he moves through each zodiac sign, he is not only moving through our birth chart, through all 12 areas of our life, saying, hey, this is the time you're going to want to think about this specific area of your life during this specific season. And he spends about 3.5 to 4 weeks in each area of our life. For example, when Mercury gets into your second house, whatever zodiac sign rules your second house, that is your money house. That is going to be a season where your mind is on your money and your money is on your mind. And you know that he's trying to coach you in that area of life to think about that area of life. He says, hey, now's the time for us to think about it, reanalyze it, pay attention to it, ask questions about it, learn more about it, process it mentally. Or when he's in your 10th house of career, you might have more work projects, more emails, more communication, more marketing, more interviews. Because he's teaching you where to focus your mind and also how to focus your mind, depending on the zodiac energy he's in. Sometimes we're meant to speak with confidence and boldness and bravery when Mercury's in Leo. But when Mercury is in Capricorn, we're meant to be more calm, cool, collected with our tone and our language. And he's teaching us the 12 different ways as he moves around the sky. And in relationship, this is super important too, because how someone needs to communicate and be heard and how they're hearing you is dependent on our Mercury placements. And we'll have a whole separate episode on that. Now, when Mercury goes retrograde, he's going to spend an extra amount of time in that area of life. Because think about retrogrades. The planet moves forward, then it moves backwards, and then it has to get back on track. So Mercury, instead of the 3.5 weeks that he would normally spend in each area of your life, he's going to spend almost 9 weeks in that particular area of your life. So every year we're going to have about 3 Mercury retrogrades. So there's 3 areas of your birth chart that Mercury, your mind, is going to be on for a little extra time, a little bit longer. So as we do astro forecast readings, this is something I talk about with all of my clients is, hey, this year we're going to think a lot more about these areas of life. We're going to learn more. We're going to ask questions. We're going to connect and communicate with other people more on this area of life. Because Mercury as a life coach is trying to teach you, trying to connect you with other people. Venus, on the other hand, is going to be our feminine. So Venus and Mars are the lovers of the zodiac. They represent our masculine and feminine energies. We have them all. Doesn't matter if you're male, female, how you identify. Every being inhaled the energy of Venus and inhaled the energy of Mars, and we have a feminine side and a masculine side. And as a life coach, Venus is going to coach you over the areas of life that you value, that you love, that you prioritize. So she coaches us over our finances, our material possessions, creative projects, our relationships, and anything else that we hold dear. And in our birth chart, wherever Venus is placed, that relationship is important to you to understand because that's how you're going to receive. That's how you're going to be in flow. That's how you're going to magnetize and attract. The feminine attracts energy in, and you're going to do that in a way of the energy that Venus was when you were born. That's how you show up in your true, authentic feminine self. And she rules over your love language, how you want to be loved by others, again, how you receive love from others, who you love, what type of relationships you enjoy. And as she journeys around the sky, she is going to visit all 12 areas of your life through all 12 zodiac signs. And she's going to life coach you to look at each area of your life for a season and say, do we value this area of life? How is it beautiful? How is it pleasurable? Do we need to adjust it and change it to make it more lovely and to attract more things here? She wants to make sure that all areas of your life are beautiful and pleasurable and that you value them and you prioritize them. And you're going to do that through each season as Venus visits each area of your chart. So building that relationship with Venus, where is she? What zodiac sign? What area of my life? How am I supposed to show up with my Venus, my feminine, to be my authentic self? Building this relationship is so important and so vital. And on the flip side with Mars, that's our masculine. Mars symbolizes he's the warrior, right? He's the fighter. Where Venus is the lover, Mars is the warrior, the protector. Mars represents in our chart our chi, our stamina, our vitality, how we drive forward, what we're motivated, what we desire, what's our primal instinct, what are we going to go after and go for and go down fighting for. He represents our fighting style. And so as a life coach to us, he's teaching us what we should fight for, what drives us. He's going to rule over our energy levels. So having that relationship with Mars is going to really dictate throughout the seasons of your life where you need to focus your energy, your masculine, as you exert, right? If Venus is how we receive, Mars is how we push out, the energy we give to things. And there's going to be a season of your life in cycles as Mars journeys through each area of your life for 6 weeks at a time. And he visits all 12 areas of your life every 2 years. And so during that season, you are going to exert your energy, drive, motivate, strategize, plan, course correct, put in work, fight for, rearrange that area of your life. This is how we're in flow, building that relationship. So for example, when Mars comes into my 10th house, my career house, which is happening right now, I know I need to spend an extra amount of time on my career. This is the time I exert energy, I make changes, I stay up late and I work on projects because Mars is here helping me. He's my life coach. He's like, exert energy. Let's do it. I'm here to help you. I'm here to give you more chi and stamina and vitality in this specific area of your life. And he hasn't been here in 2 years, right? So there's a season for me. It doesn't mean I don't work, the other times. It just means I know this is now the moment where my life coach is saying, let's go. Let's go. Let's do the thing we need to do. And when Mars retrogrades, it's an opportunity to look at that area of your life and review, reflect, re-strategize, re-game plan, to go over, spend an extra amount of time during that season course correcting so you can get back on track in a way that you enjoy. So building that relationship with Mars in your own chart is understanding what is your natural energy levels, your natural rhythm, what motivates you, what is your fighting style, how do you work on exerting your energy and investing your energy in certain things, and then understanding as he journeys around what that feels like and how to tap into it. Now, after we get to our personal planets of Mercury, Mars, and Venus, we now move into what I like to think of as our higher mentors, Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter, as a life coach, is my favorite life coach. I absolutely love Jupiter. His vibe is like that teacher you had in high school that didn't really teach you anything about the curriculum, but like taught you so much about life, right? It was so fun and so exciting to go to class with him. Jupiter as a planet is about expansion, growth, blessing, and opportunity. Jupiter gives gifts. Think of Jupiter like the best friend who calls you up for a cocktail and you're like, hey, let's go out for a drink tonight. And you end up being out all night having multiple cocktails and shots and you danced on the bar and you were in your favorite skinny jeans and you had like the best time ever. That's Jupiter's vibe. He's here to teach us how to expand, to grow, to expand our mind, to have a higher conscious perspective, to live life, to gain wisdom and knowledge through earthly experiences, checking things off our bucket list, like street smarts all day. And so Jupiter as a coach to us is always teaching us how to expand, to take the next step, to do the new thing, to travel, to learn, to hire a mentor. Like Jupiter is always guiding us for more and more and more. And he rewards us with gifts and blessings and opportunity so that we expand, so that we grow. And in your birth chart, wherever Jupiter falls in your chart, to have that relationship with yourself, to know where Jupiter is, whatever area of life he's in, whatever house, is the area of life that's going to have more abundance and flow and luck and blessing and prosperity for you. It's an easier area of life. Now, you may have some other planets there that might challenge it and bring your luck level down a little bit. But again, that's all personal and in 101 readings. I'm doing very general here. And the zodiac energy that your Jupiter is in is the energy that you can embody to receive more opportunities and blessings and luck. So for example, my Jupiter is in Pisces. So for me to receive opportunities and blessing and luck and good fortune, I need to be in the Pisces energy of compassion and empathy, the Jesus energy, understanding, relating to people, be in my spiritual gifts, be in my spiritual practice, which is astrology. It's where my spiritual gifts come in and I get channeled. And that brings me opportunities and expansion and growth. And once I started doing that, during my dark night of the soul, my life has expanded immensely. So where Jupiter is in your chart is where life is a little bit more in flow. And the zodiac energy is the energy you need to tap into to receive Jupiter's gifts. And now Jupiter moves around the sky in a zodiac sign for 1 year. And he meets all 12 zodiac signs, meaning he visits all 12 areas of your chart in a 12-year cycle. We did a really fun exercise in our Telegram channel, the Astro Weather Report. I do education days on some Saturdays. And as Jupiter moved into the zodiac energy of Gemini back in May, we did a really fun activity where we tracked where Jupiter was over the last 12 years in each area of our life. And then we took note of the blessings we received in that area of life over the course of the last 12 years. It was such a fun activity to do. And Jupiter he's going to bless us in each area of our life throughout 12 years. And in readings, this is something we talk about. If someone has a goal or something they want out of life, sometimes I advise them to wait until Jupiter is in that area of their life, because that's going to be a year where it's going to be more in flow. He's going to give you gifts. He's going to expand you naturally. It's about waiting for the rhythm and the cycles of our life that were already kind of predetermined when we were born. So for example, if you know that you want to get married, waiting till Jupiter enters your 7th house is going to be the prime time based on your soul's journey, based on the timeline you entered, based on the fact that that life coach is stepping in to expand you. That's his job in that area of your life during that season. And so we can work with this flow. I know it's going to be another 2 years before Jupiter goes to my 10th house of my career. So I'm not stressing it if things aren't expanding and exploding and blowing up. It will get there when Jupiter gets there. Right now, I need to focus on Jupiter's lessons and receiving gifts and blessing and expansion and growth in my 8th house. So we work with these cycles. Saturn, on the other hand, is a life coach that is super challenging, that people don't like to deal with. He is our tough love dad. We consider Saturn Lord Karma, the taskmaster, the timekeeper. You consider him like that grandfather energy that's very wise, that knows a lot, wants you to be responsible. Saturn wants us to be disciplined and committed and have boundaries and structure and making sure that each area of our life has a strong, sturdy foundation. And Saturn visits each area of our life in our birth chart every 30 years. So he'll ultimately come into an area of your life. He'll park his butt there and he will hammer you with lessons. As a life coach, he is the one that is responsible for challenging you, giving you obstacles, limitations, hardships. All the hard-ish in life is because of Saturn, because we're here to grow. And if life is roses and butterflies and all of Jupiter's gifts, things aren't going to be very expansive. We're going to kind of stay stuck. If life is great, why would I ever change it? Saturn comes in and says, no. You're here to grow. You're here to learn lessons. So I'm going to challenge you. It's that cosmic pressure of, gosh, I know I got to do this, but it's so hard and I don't want to do it. And then one day you're going to have to do it because, for example, let's say it's like, oh, I got to deal with that credit card debt. It's so hard and it's so challenging and I don't want to deal with it. And then all of a sudden, like a bill collector comes knocking on your door and you have to deal with it. That's Saturn. He's like, hey, here's the pressure. You got to do this. You got to be responsible. You got to be committed. Don't you see it? Hello. Oh, you don't see it? Okay. Let me teach you this lesson really, really hard. So he'll hang out in a certain area of your life for about 3 years and make sure that area of your life, you are committed, you are disciplined, you have a strong foundation. So for example, when Saturn was in my 4th house of home, we were building this home and it was during the pandemic. Supposed to take 6 months, took 17 months, a year and a half. We were living in apartments. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. We finally moved in. The first day of building the pool, a rock came flying through our window and shattered our window. A year into living here, we found mold behind a cabinet and had to rip out the entire kitchen. And it was like, gosh darn it, Saturn, these lessons are so hard. But by the time he left that area of my life, I knew that my home is solid. We have every crack filled. Everything is great. It will last us for 30 years until Saturn comes back. And so this is helpful building that relationship with Saturn, because if there's a challenging period of your life, we know it's not going to last forever. We also know the lessons he's trying to teach us, and the quicker we get on board with it, the better and easier the lessons get. He is Lord Karma after all, so he's going to reward or punish depending on if we learn the lesson. I always say with Saturn, it goes something like this. He's your tough love dad, and he says, did you do your homework? 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 And then you do your homework and you get an A, and Saturn, dad, takes you out for ice cream. You didn't do your homework, you failed the 8th grade. Not only do you have to repeat the 8th grade, you have to repeat the lesson, but now you're grounded for the whole summer, right? The punishment. That's how Saturn operates in our life. Now, when he goes retrograde, he steps back and he says, I'm not going to ask you if you're doing your homework. I'm not going to give you any more challenges or hardships or pressure. You should know what you should be doing. You should know how to be your own tough love dad. I'm going to take a step back and see if you can handle it without the pressure. And so Saturn retrogrades are often periods where it's like life gets easier, and then he comes out of retrograde and karma's served. Lord Karma is coming to reward or punish. And so it's not all bad. If we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, good things can happen too. Our Saturn returns are periods when Saturn comes back to where he was on the date of our birth and to that zodiac sign, and we have an up level. My advice always is don't get married before your first Saturn return, age 27 to 30, because you will up level and grow into a whole new person as you learn all these lessons. And where Saturn was in your birth chart indicates what area of life you're going to have to take more responsibility in, because that's going to be an area of life where you're going to have lifelong challenges. When I do readings for parents for their children and understanding their children's chart, I often have to say, and this is important too for romantic relationships, you are not your child, you are not your partner's Saturn. You are not here to teach them the lessons. They have a cosmic life coach doing that for them. So if there's going to be a lot of challenges, for example, in their money house, they have to learn it. They have to get committed and disciplined and responsible. You cannot teach them that lesson, and you can also not help them overcome that lesson. That is part of their cosmic journey, their mission here on Earth. So your Saturn area of life, where Jupiter is like where it's more flow and ease, Saturn is like they're going to have a lot of hardships in that area of life. If someone has a Saturn in the 7th house, I know that oftentimes they might get married and divorced or have a lot of relationship hardships. Financial area of life, they're going to have a lot of money hiccups until they learn to be really responsible with their finances, and so on. So that is Saturn. Now we move to our what we call our generational planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. They are further away from us here on Earth. They stay in a zodiac energy for a lot longer, so it's almost like a whole collective or grouping or generation of people affected by this energy. But personally, it's important to understand and have a relationship with these planets because they are still coaching us in some way. Uranus is our life coach of teaching us how to be rebellious, to be our own authentic weirdo, to step into that authenticity, and to be a little bit more rebellious. Rebel, revolutionary, rebelling, stepping out of our comfort zone, moving society forward. He is going to be the one that helps us shake awake our own life and the people around us. Now, Uranus as a life coach, his motto is choose change or I'll choose it for you. He is all about the future. He's all about the newness, moving forward in any way possible, detaching from the past, next. And as souls in a physical body, in a physical reality, it is hard to change. It is hard to get out of our comfort zone. We do not like disruption. Uranus is the energy of disruption. Lightning bolt, left field, shocking surprise, get you awake to take the step forward. And so as a life coach, he can teach us some hard lessons, but they feel good on the other side. So for example, the example I use often in readings is, let's say you've always wanted to move to Spain. And you don't move and you don't move and you keep saying you're going to, and then all of a sudden you come home and you pull in your driveway and your house is burnt down to rubble, and you take the insurance check and you move to Spain. You can thank Uranus for that. All the major disruptions, left field things in your life experience come from life coach Uranus. Move forward, next, choose change. It's time to keep it moving. And in your birth chart, wherever Uranus falls, the relationship you can have with him and within your own internal self is that we're each meant to be a little rebellious, a little revolutionary in a certain area of our life. And if we think of it this way, if I'm supposed to be a little inventive, unique, rebellious, taking society forward around my 11th house of community and friendship and tribe, and you have Uranus, let's say, in the 7th house of marriage, And someone else has a Uranus in the second house of money. We're each doing our part to move society forward. Next, not based on tradition in the past, but next, unconventional ways, new paths forward, liberating us into the new timelines. So if each of us taps into our own inner weirdo, our own rebel, our own way of liberating and shocking the world forward, we're going to have people with all 12 Uranus placements in all 12 houses, and we all move society together forward in our own individual ways. And the energy of where Uranus is, the zodiac sign he falls in your chart, is the energy that you use to be a little unique and authentic. So for example, if someone has Uranus in the first house, they're going to dress unconventionally, they're going to appear unconventional, they're going to like literally beat to their own drum, especially in fashion. Or if Uranus is in the seventh house of marriage, these might be people that have very unconventional, non-traditional types of relationships. We're all meant to be a little unique weirdo based on how life coach Uranus is teaching us. And then throughout the seasons of our life, the areas of life where we're going to have some disruption and changes so we can move forward. You'll hang out in that area of your life for about 7 years at a time. Neptune, on the other hand, hangs out in a certain area of our life for up to 11 years at a time. And Neptune is our dreamer. As a life coach, he allows us to expand our mind, to believe, to dream, to see the magic in life. And Neptune as an archetype is symbolized by Neptune, the trident, King Trident and the Little Mermaid, god of the sea. Because again, it's in flow. It's the fish. It's just exploring the world. I think of Neptune as a life coach as someone who loves to go to festivals and does acid and is living in the clouds, la la land, wearing rose-colored glasses, only sees the positive, is such a high vibe creature. And so he's teaching us how to be this way. That it is important to dream. That's important to manifest. It's important to tap into the divine and our spirit guides and prayer and meditation and God and the universe and source and finding the magic in everyday life. That it is okay to not take the world so seriously and just dream. And so as a life coach to us, he's going to hang out in a certain area of our life and maybe make that area of life a little foggy, a little hazy for us so that we don't take it so serious. So that we can explore and tap in and to be in the flow and just see what happens and to be creative in that area of our life. Now, Neptune also, as a life coach planet, where he was in our birth chart, is going to indicate where some of our most creative gifts or creative talents show up. As he's painting pictures and fantasy and illusion and dream world, we're all meant to do that in a certain area of our life, depending on where Neptune was. Now, Neptune, when he goes retrograde, the relationship with him that's interesting is when he goes retrograde, he rips those rose-colored glasses off. And so during that season, we're seeing the world for what it is. We're taking people off of pedestals. We get this shocking awakening, blinking your eyes twice and seeing everything with perfect 20/20 vision. Because also there's a season to see it for what it is. And then there's a season for seeing the magic, seeing the divine, seeing the creation that is possible and fantasizing. Both are very important. So he's going to teach you to dream, to hold a vision, and to just be a little delusional sometimes. He has that energy of delusion, of fogginess, of flow, of surrender. Think of him as that compassionate, loving Jesus archetypal energy, connected to source and God. And we all have that inside of us in our birth chart. Now, Pluto, on the other hand, is god of the underworld. Pluto, when you see Pluto, I want you to think of power, intense power, control, manipulation. Pluto, as a life coach, is teaching us to stand in our own power, to take control of our life, to not be afraid. Pluto, as a life coach, will expose us to our vulnerabilities and our fears, to help us reveal things, to unearth things. He will help us transform in ways that are so deep and so powerful and hella uncomfortable. But luckily, Pluto hangs out in an area of our life for 15 to 20 years at a time. So this transformation, the death and rebirth, the energy of Pluto expands over a long, long period of time. And an entire generation will be born with the same exact Pluto placement. So wherever Pluto was in your birth chart is the area of life that you will transform over and over and over again. You will regenerate through that area. So for me, it's in my first house. So I've had lots of identities throughout the course of my life. I was like this goth girl, and then I was like super Barbie and glam, and I was super sporty, and I loved the gym, and I became a certified personal trainer, and now I'm an astrologer. Like, I transform through my identity and how I show up in the world, as Pluto's in my first house. So Pluto is going to help you stand in your power and transform and regenerate in your world. And wherever he is visiting in an area of your chart, he's going to help you take power and control of that area of your life. And that's going to be by unearthing, revealing, looking at the darkness in that area, standing in your own control of it. And because Pluto moves so slow, he goes around the entire zodiac signs every 250 years, you're only going to have Pluto in maybe 5 to 6, if you're lucky, areas of your chart. So having that relationship with him, you can kind of see the areas of your life that you're going to have to take responsibility to transform and take control and power of during different seasons of your life. You kind of consider it like your whole life is like a series of novels. Each individual book is the Pluto chapters of your life, and it's massive transformation. And Pluto evolves us, as a society, as a collective, helps us crumble and tear down things so that we can rebuild and we can have fresh new growth and fresh new flowers. And so it's uncomfortable, but we're moving through it. And then lastly, I want to talk about Chiron. Now, Chiron technically isn't a planet or a life coach, but I really think it's important to still talk about it because I still think he's teaching us a lot of lessons. Chiron is an asteroid, and it is considered in astrology the wound from a past life, the wound that you're here to heal and overcome. And Pluto in mythology was a centaur. So he was half human, half beast, and he was ostracized from society. And he became a shaman, and he could heal all these people with alternative healing modalities. Until one day he got shot in his Achilles heel, his Achilles tendon, and that became his wound that he couldn't heal, and he passed. And so it represents in our birth chart, it's symbolized by the key. And so it's the key to unlocking our soul's true happiness. And it's that fear, the wound, how we died in a previous lifetime. And now we're so afraid in this lifetime that that's ever going to happen again, that we avoid certain situations and scenarios because it literally feels to us inside on a subconscious level that if I do that thing, I'm going to die. And so we don't want to do it and we avoid it. But once we understand this wound and we start healing it and we unlock that key of the door to our happiness, we no longer operate out of this fear. And so Chiron as a life coach is going to teach us how to heal that wound, that it's important to heal the wound. He's going to give us triggers, pain points, ouchies, little moments in our life where that wound comes alive and it starts bleeding again. And we have to heal it and nurture it and tend to it until it is completely scabbed over and totally healed. So looking in your birth chart, your Chiron wound is going to symbolize the main wound that you have to heal. It's going to symbolize the area of life that it's connected to based on the house. And as he moves into different zodiac signs throughout your lifetime, he's going to bring up different wounds in different areas of your life that you're meant to soothe and heal and work through. So ultimately, you can heal other people as well. So that is all the life coach planets that I wanted to go over today. Hopefully this was a good overview, that it was insightful, that you learned a lot. Hopefully it gives you a really good foundation as we move forward through relational astrology and upcoming podcast episodes. We are going to have an entire episode about your primary life coach. And what that essentially means is each one of us, depending on our rising sign, has one of these planets, or sometimes two, depending on your rising sign, that is your primary ruler. So they're teaching you the most lessons. Whatever they're up to in the sky is going to be so important to you. So building that relationship with them will be essential. And we'll have a whole episode just on our primary life coach and how to build that relationship specifically. And then, like I said, we're also going to have episodes for each planet individually as they go through all 12 zodiac signs and how that shows up in your relationships and how to relate better to people depending on their placement for each planet. So lots more goodness to come. I'm so grateful that you were here today, that you got to learn about this topic. I'm curious what insights you got, anything that maybe sparked a little aha moment for you. Hop over to the socials, whether it's Instagram or TikTok. Let me know on the post about this episode. And I'm going to give you a little homework assignment. My homework assignment for you is to start building that relationship with each of those planets. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull up your chart. You're going to look at some of the things we mentioned today, figuring out where your sun is where you're meant to shine your brightest, looking at Venus, the area of life she is in, and that's where you're meant to magnetize and attract things to you. Your Jupiter, where you're going to have some ease and flow and blessing and abundance, and all the other things that we mentioned today. So that is your homework assignment, to start building that relationship to yourself through the planets in your birth chart. And that will be it for today. But before we go, let's dive into what's in our orbit. If you're new here, this is the segment at the end of every episode where I let you know all the things that's in the orbit for our Astro family that you can reach out and grab if you so choose. And so the first thing that I want to mention today is that not only do we have the 2025 Astrology Alchemy Journal, but we have the PDF version. I've mentioned this in a few of the other episodes. The PDF version you can download immediately, have access to it. You can print it out on your own. It's a little bit more of a discounted price than the physical copy, but you can order either or. Make sure you grab it as we start planning for 2025. And there's also a lot of updated pages. So if you've gotten previous copies, you will notice we have more transits, more bucket list items. We've got places for you to add in information about your own birth chart. So everything is in one place. Remember, it is not a planner necessarily. It's more of a journal. Journals allow you to answer journal prompts, to create memory banks of what was going on in your life during different seasons and during different cycles. So when it comes back around, for example, next year during Scorpio sun season, you're like, oh, this is what was going on for me last year around this time. This may come back up again. And the other thing that is definitely coming up in our orbit is we are going to be having the 2025 Astro Forecasting event. I do this every single year. This will be my 5th year doing it. We gather together on Zoom and we plan out the year ahead. I let you know the astro weather events that are coming in, how it may impact you, looking at your chart. We deep dive into some of the themes or things that we can anticipate in the collective. It is such a fun, exciting event that we do every single year in the Astro family. If you purchase your 2025 journal on pre-sale, you will get a link for free. If you're in our Astro Weather Telegram channel, you will be able to join us for free. And if not, you want to join us anyways, we would love to have you. I will have inexpensive tickets because I want as many people to join us as possible. So stay tuned for a link for that. It will be in all the description boxes of all the episodes. And if you just want to come join us for the Astro Weather Telegram channel, we will have a free 7-day link in the description box. You can come in, get your Astro Weather report every single day, voice memo to your phone, so you don't have to spend hours and hours on YouTube or social media or podcasts figuring out what is going on in the cosmos and then forgetting it when the day actually comes. And we have education and workshops and free new and full moon rituals and all sorts of other things where we gather together, like the Astro Forecasting event for 2025. All of that will be included, and you can find more information in the description box. And I'm going to send you guys so much love and light, gratitude for being here. Come join the party. Let's continue over on the socials or on Telegram. Until I catch you in the next episode, may the stars guide you on your path.
Thank you so much for tuning in today and spending some of your magical minutes on Earth with me. Find me on Instagram or TikTok at The Relational Astrologer, where we connect daily and vote on future episode topics. If today's episode offered new insights, make sure you subscribe. And if you're finding value here, consider leaving a review. It helps others seeking harmony in their relationship find us too. And don't forget, as my thank you for helping me spread this mission, every review or share of an episode enters you into our monthly giveaway for a free 30-minute reading with me. To participate, just leave a review or share an episode to your social media, take a screenshot, and email it to me at therelationalastrologer@gmail.com. Every reviewer will receive a free PDF relationship astrology guide, and one lucky winner each month will receive a 30-minute personal astrology session. I'll announce the winner on Instagram on the 1st of every month, so stay tuned and enter as many times as you desire. Thank you so much for being a part of my Astro family. I'm so grateful you came into my orbit.